Did you know that over 70% of people admit they've been publicly humiliated at least once in their lives? Humiliation doesn't just hurt emotionally, it can actually lower your confidence and self-esteem. Some studies even show it's one of the main reasons people struggle with anxiety in social situations. When we find ourselves in this situation, most of us freeze, or worse, lash out and regret it later. But what if I told you there are ways you can respond that can completely change the game? A response that shuts down the humiliation, leaves your dignity intact, and even earns you respect. Humiliation is something we've all experienced at some point in our life, and let's face it, it's never a good feeling. Whether it's someone making a sarcastic remark about your work, a so-called friend sharing a private joke at your expense, or even strangers trolling you online, these moments can shake us to the core. And let's be honest, no one teaches us how to handle these situations properly. We're either told to shrug it off or stand up for yourself. But what does that even mean? Shrugging it off often makes you feel small, and standing up for yourself, it's easy to lose control and end up escalating the situation. So this is where the challenge starts. How do you shut down humiliation in a way that's calm, collected, and incredibly effective? That's exactly what we're going to figure out today. In this video, we're diving into some effective tips and psychological techniques inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. These strategies won't just help you navigate humiliating situations calmly. They'll also help you gain respect from those around you, and trust me, by the end of this video, you'll feel ready to handle anything life throws your way. Before we begin, please subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on more amazing videos like this. Let's get started. The psychology of humiliation. Why do people humiliate others? It's a question we've all asked ourselves after being on the receiving end of a stinging remark or a cutting look. On the surface, it may feel like the attack is all about you, your actions, your personality, your perceived flaws. But the truth is that humiliation, more often than not, is less about you and more about the person inflicting it. At its core, humiliation is a power play. It's a tactic some use to assert dominance in social settings or to feel superior in the moment. Think about it. The grumpy coworker who calls you out in a meeting, the family member who cracks a joke at your expense, the stranger online who lobs an unprovoked insult your way. Their actions often stem from a desire to position themselves as more competent, clever, or worthy in the eyes of others. You'll find that this behavior rarely comes from a place of genuine strength. Instead, it's often rooted in insecurity. People who humiliate others are frequently grappling with their own fears, doubts, and inadequacies. Their insults serve as a mask, a way to divert attention from their vulnerabilities by shining an uncomfortable spotlight on someone else. When they make you feel small, they momentarily convince themselves they are bigger. Think about this. Have you ever noticed that those who are genuinely confident and secure in themselves rarely resort to humiliating others? They don't need to. True strength is quiet, steady, and grounded. It uplifts rather than tears down. Now, let's bring in some timeless wisdom to ground this understanding. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the context of humiliation, this is a game changer. You cannot always control what others say or do. People will lash out, project their issues, and attempt to provoke you. But their actions don't have to dictate your emotions or your response. The most important truth you'll learn today is that humiliation only has power if you grant it. When someone attempts to belittle you, They are handing you a choice. Do you allow their words to define your worth, or do you see their behavior for what it is? A reflection of their internal struggles, not your value. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot change external events, we can master our internal world. How you interpret the situation, how you process it, and how you respond, these are entirely within your control, and in that control lies your power. So, the next time someone tries to humiliate you, take a deep breath and remember this. Their behavior says everything about them and nothing about you. Your response, however, says everything about your strength, your character, and your ability to command respect. The calm gaze technique. Let's take you're at a family dinner surrounded by familiar faces when someone makes a sharp remark aimed directly at you. It's a subtle comment, but you know it's meant to hurt you. The eyes in the room flicker in your direction, waiting for your response. Now, you have a choice. You can engage in the verbal sparring, fire back with a witty retort, or, and this is where the power lies, you can remain calm, unfazed, and hold their gaze. This is the foundation of the calm gaze technique. It may seem simple, even small, but its impact is powerful. When someone attempts to undermine you, often the first instinct is to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to justify your actions, to fight back. But in doing so, you give them power over you. They've succeeded in drawing you into their game. But here's the secret. Body language often speaks louder than words. Your posture, your expression, and your eye contact can communicate volumes without you saying a single word. When someone insults or humiliates you, instead of reacting with anger or embarrassment, hold their gaze calmly and steadily. Don't fidget, don't break eye contact, and don't shrink away. Stand tall in the presence of their attempt to diminish you. Why does this work? It's about control. By maintaining a calm and unflinching gaze, you send a message that their words do not affect you. You're not rattled. You're not intimidated. Your silence, paired with a steady strength in your eyes, communicates something far more powerful than any sharp response ever could. This technique works because it mirrors the Stoic concept of apatheia, the state of being unaffected by external forces. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you remain composed and unyielding in the face of an attempt to humiliate you, you reinforce your inner peace and protect your emotional state from the external chaos of others' negativity. You're at a family gathering, the kind where everyone has their opinion, and the tension is always just below the surface. Your cousin, in a loud, offhand manner, makes a comment designed to put you down, maybe even in front of the whole table. It's subtle enough to escape immediate notice, but you know it's meant to undermine you. Everyone turns to you, anticipating a reaction. Instead of clenching your fists, rolling your eyes, or snapping back, you do the unexpected. You look at them directly with calm eyes, no judgment, no anger. You don't smile, but you don't scowl either. You simply look at them, composed and serene. Their words hang in the air, but they do not affect you. The room, unsure of how to respond to your stoic calm, falls silent. The energy shifts. The power dynamics are flipped. You've taken control of the moment. You have to remember that this technique doesn't just happen overnight. It's a skill that requires practice and presence of mind. The next time you're in a situation where someone attempts to humiliate you, try using this technique. Begin in low-stakes, non-confrontational situations, maybe with a colleague or in a casual social setting. Practice holding a calm, steady gaze when someone says something dismissive or critical. Over time, it will become second nature. and your confidence in deflecting humiliation will grow. Remember, the calm gaze isn't about showing no emotion at all. It's about mastering your emotional state so that others cannot manipulate it. It's about projecting inner strength that remains unwavering no matter how others try to shake you. In doing so, you reclaim your power, and the humiliation you were once subjected to is deflected back to the instigator. The repeat the joke method. The repeat the joke method is another technique that may sound simple, but it's incredibly effective when it comes to disarming someone who tries to humiliate you with a joke. The premise is deceptively straightforward. When someone makes a joke at your expense, instead of getting upset or reacting defensively, ask them to repeat it. It might sound counterintuitive, right? Why would you draw more attention to the insult? The power here lies in your ability to shift the dynamic. When someone tries to humiliate you with a joke, they're often hoping to get a reaction. They want to see you squirm, laugh awkwardly, or get defensive. But by calmly asking them to repeat it, you not only neutralize the joke, but you also highlight the inappropriateness of their words. Think about it. When a person repeats a joke, especially one that's meant to insult or embarrass, it forces them to confront the absurdity of their own words. Suddenly, the joke loses its bite. It's no longer a clever remark that puts you on the defensive. It becomes an awkward, uncomfortable moment that exposes their lack of social awareness. Let me share an example. There was this one time when I was at a social gathering, and a friend thought it would be funny to share an embarrassing story about me from years ago. They laughed and everyone joined in, hoping to see me react. It was one of those situations where the humor was at my expense, and I could feel the collective gaze of the room shifting onto me. But instead of looking embarrassed or angry, I calmly said, "Oh, that's interesting. Could you repeat that for me? I'm not sure I heard you the first time." At first, they hesitated. The room became a bit quieter, and they repeated the story, but this time it didn't sound as funny. The humor had faded and the awkwardness settled in. It was as if the room had shifted focus, and instead of the laughter being directed at me, it was now on them. It was a small moment, but it worked. Their attempt to humiliate me lost its power because they had to repeat it. It felt forced and awkward, and suddenly, I was the one in control. This approach works because it's a demonstration of emotional composure. Stoicism teaches us to detach ourselves from the judgment and opinions of others. In moments of potential humiliation, we have the power to control how we respond. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." By asking someone to repeat their joke, we turn their attempt to humiliate us into an opportunity for us to exercise our power over our emotions. We control how we feel about the situation, not the person making the joke. This method also highlights the absurdity of the insult or the joke. The more you ask someone to repeat a remark that was meant to be funny at your expense, the more the room begins to see the joke for what it is: shallow, unnecessary, and actually quite rude. The focus shifts from you, the target, to the awkwardness of the situation. Of course, you don't want to come across as sarcastic or mocking. The goal is not to escalate the situation, but to calmly diffuse it. The trick is in how you ask them to repeat it. Keep your tone neutral, your body language relaxed, and your expression composed. By doing so, you allow the other person's words to become their own downfall. They may find themselves rethinking the joke entirely, or, at the very least, feeling a little less empowered in the moment. Just as with the calm gaze technique, the repeat the joke method requires practice. Start with smaller situations where the stakes are lower. The next time someone cracks a joke at your expense, try calmly asking them to repeat it. See how it shifts the power dynamic. Over time, you'll build confidence in using this technique and find that it becomes a natural response. Redirection. with a neutral question. Sometimes, the best way to respond to an attempt at humiliation isn't to react at all. It's to redirect the conversation entirely. This strategy, known as the redirection with a neutral question, is a powerful way to shift the focus away from the attack and back onto something neutral or positive. This method works by strategically introducing a completely unrelated topic, something so neutral and uncontroversial that the person trying to humiliate you has no choice but to engage with it, or, more often than not, be left in an awkward silence. For example, let's say you're at a dinner party and someone decides to make a cutting remark about your appearance or your career. Instead of engaging with their negativity, try shifting the conversation with a simple, unassuming question like, "By the way, have you been to that new Italian restaurant downtown? I've heard great things about it." Suddenly, you've changed the dynamic. The focus is no longer on you, and it forces the other person to either awkwardly keep pushing the same line of attack or simply join you in a new topic that has nothing to do with their attempt at humiliation. This technique is not about avoiding confrontation in a cowardly way. It's about choosing not to fuel negativity or drama. By introducing a neutral question, you take the conversation off the path the other person was trying to steer it toward, a path that was designed to embarrass you. And because your question is unrelated to the subject at hand, it forces the other person to either continue making themselves uncomfortable or shift gears entirely. It's subtle, but incredibly effective. Let me give you an example from a recent gathering I attended. An old friend of mine was being particularly snarky, making comments about a decision I had made a few years ago. I could feel the tension building, and I knew if I reacted, the situation would only escalate. Instead of taking the bait, I smiled and said, "Hey, has anyone been to that new hiking trail up north? I heard the views are amazing. We should plan a trip sometime." The conversation completely shifted. Everyone began discussing the hike, and the awkward moment passed without further comment on my personal life. The person who had been making the snide remarks was now completely disarmed and had nothing else to add. It wasn't even an intentional power play. It was just a calm, collected response that refused to indulge negativity. By introducing a neutral question, I took the focus off myself and the attack and steered the energy of the room towards something more constructive. This technique is aligned with the Stoic philosophy of choosing what you give your energy to. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste time on what you cannot control. Control your actions and responses and let go of everything else." In the context of humiliation, you cannot control the words or actions of others, but you do have the power to decide how you respond. By redirecting the conversation, you take control of the situation without engaging in conflict or drama. It's a reflection of the Stoic principle that we are only responsible for our own responses, not for the behavior of others. Practically speaking, when you notice someone trying to humiliate you or make a cutting remark, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? More often than not, the answer will be no. And that's when you can take action. Shift the focus by introducing a neutral question. It's an easy yet profound way to de-escalate potential tension and maintain control over your emotional state. To practice this, start by looking for opportunities in your everyday interactions. The next time someone makes an awkward or hurtful comment in a conversation, see if you can calmly shift the focus by asking a completely unrelated question. You'll likely find that this small but powerful tactic can diffuse tension in ways that leave you feeling calm, centered, and in control. The beauty of this technique is in its simplicity. You don't need to defend yourself, justify your actions, or retaliate. You just shift the energy of the conversation, and in doing so, you take back your power without confrontation. It's a way to keep your emotional peace intact and choose what you give your focus to, refusing to let negativity dominate your day. Walking away with confidence. There are times when the most powerful thing you can do in response to humiliation is to simply walk away. It sounds simple, yet it can be one of the most empowering choices you make. Walking away isn't about running from conflict or admitting defeat. It's about choosing to protect your peace, your dignity, and your sense of self-worth. When you find yourself in a toxic environment, whether it's a group of people, a conversation, or a setting that's filled with negativity, it's crucial to recognize when it's time to leave. You don't need to explain yourself or justify your actions. The very act of walking away signals that you value yourself too much to stay in an environment that undermines you. This can be incredibly freeing and allows you to regain control over your emotional well-being. When you leave a situation that is filled with humiliation or disrespect, you take back your power. You don't allow others' words or behaviors to dictate your emotional state. You decide to walk in your own direction towards something more positive and affirming. I think back to a time when a close friend was constantly belittling me in front of others. Their remarks were subtle but frequent, designed to undermine my confidence. I stayed in the friendship for far too long, hoping that things would improve or that they would realize how hurtful their behavior was. One day, during a social gathering, they made yet another cutting comment. It was the last straw. Instead of staying and enduring more of the same, I quietly excused myself and left. I didn't make a scene, didn't argue, and didn't try to explain myself. I simply left, and in doing so, I reclaimed my peace. Leaving that toxic situation felt empowering. It wasn't about walking away from the friendship forever, but about protecting my own self-respect. It was a reminder that I am not obligated to stay in situations where my worth is diminished. Sometimes choosing to walk away is the ultimate act of self-care and self-respect. It signals that you won't tolerate humiliation, not because you're afraid of confrontation, but because you understand that you deserve better. This is where the wisdom of Stoic philosophy comes into play. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The power to walk away is rooted in this very mindset. It's about recognizing that you have the authority to control your environment and choose what you expose yourself to. By walking away from a toxic situation, you're not conceding defeat. You're choosing to protect your mental peace, preserve your dignity, and uphold your self-worth. Walking away may seem counterintuitive, especially if you've been conditioned to fight or endure in the face of humiliation. However, as the Stoics teach us, true strength comes from within, and sometimes the strongest action is the one that allows you to reclaim your inner peace and remove yourself from negativity. It's not a weakness to walk away. It's a powerful affirmation of your right to protect your emotional well-being. So, how can you begin to incorporate this into your own life? Pay attention to situations or people that consistently drain your energy, make you feel disrespected, or humiliate you. Walking away is a conscious decision to protect your peace. Remind yourself that you always have the power to walk away from any situation, regardless of how invested you may feel in it. It can be hard to walk away when we feel an obligation to stay, but remind yourself that leaving isn't selfish. It's an act of self-preservation. You don't need to explain yourself or apologize for choosing your well-being over negativity. Let go of any feelings of guilt or fear about others' judgment. You have every right to remove yourself from situations where you're not being treated with respect. Walking away isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing your peace over being entangled in negativity. The true strength in walking away lies in your ability to detach from external judgment and protect your inner sense of worth. Just as Marcus Aurelius advised, by taking control of your mind, you're reclaiming your power, and in doing so, you're choosing to protect your most valuable asset, your peace. Why this works? So, why do these techniques work? They work because they fundamentally shift the dynamics of respect, not just how others treat you, but how you treat yourself in those moments. When you respond with grace, calm, and dignity, you take control of the situation, not by changing the other person, but by changing your response. This is where the true power lies. Stoicism teaches us a critical lesson. We cannot control other people or their actions, but we have absolute power over how we choose to respond. As Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The key here is not trying to force others to respect us or change their behavior. That's an exhausting and ultimately futile effort. Instead, true strength comes from controlling our actions and reactions. When we respond to humiliation with composure, calm, and clear boundaries, we do more than just protect ourselves from the immediate discomfort. We send a powerful message. We refuse to let anyone else's negativity dictate how we feel about ourselves. This approach doesn't just deflect the humiliation, it reestablishes the balance of respect. It shifts the power dynamics, not by confronting the aggressor directly, but by taking the higher road, the road of self-control and inner strength. In doing so, we empower ourselves to handle even the most uncomfortable situations with grace. These techniques aren't just about surviving humiliation, they're about thriving in spite of it. Each technique is a tool for maintaining your dignity, reclaiming your power, and building resilience in the face of adversity. Ultimately, this mindset aligns with the Stoic ideal of focusing on what we can control, ourselves. We stop relying on others to validate our worth, and instead, we find that worth within. By mastering your reactions, you not only protect yourself from harm, but you also cultivate a deep, unshakable respect for yourself that external forces cannot tarnish. Let's quickly recap the key lessons we've learned today. First, humiliation only has power over you if you let it. Your response is the one thing you can fully control. When you stand your ground, respond with composure, and choose not to give in to the negativity, you take away its power. Your calm, composed response is the ultimate rebuttal. You don't need to fight fire with fire. Instead, you rise above with grace and dignity. By practicing these techniques, you gain the strength to deflect humiliation and assert control over your own emotional world. Always remember that respect isn't begged for, it's earned by how you carry yourself. The way you handle difficult situations speaks louder than any words ever could. Let today be the day you stop giving others control over your emotions and take back your dignity. This isn't just about handling humiliation, it's about stepping into your power and owning your worth. I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a moment of humiliation, and how did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might just inspire someone else to reclaim their dignity. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos on this channel to keep learning and empowering yourself. The best version of yourself is waiting, and the journey starts now.